In the winter of 2014, my family and I traveled to Tanzania to summit Mount Kilimanjaro, the largest freestanding mountain in the world and the largest mountain in Africa. Each day on the climb, I was surrounded by beautiful scenery, whether it was in the towering cliffs of Mwenzi or the biome of the alpine tundra. And the best part was, no Wi-Fi, which meant no phones, no texts, no alerts, and most of all, no distractions. And as my family climbed higher and higher, my appreciation for those very surroundings and the lack of distraction that they created grew. It was the rocks and the dunes and the mountains that drew me closer into nature and made me feel calmer than I ever had before. In addition, those very lack of distractions allowed me to know the sights and the sounds going on around me. And this I credit with saving my life. Let me explain. On summit day, my family and I rose before sunrise at 17,000 feet, and after 2 hours, we took a break. And while we were resting, we heard screams a couple hundred feet above, and as I looked up, a rock came barreling toward me. It was only later that I learned that a climber had accidentally slipped and caused the rock to become dislodged. And as that rock was falling toward me in the nick of time with all my might, I dove out of the way to my right, missing the rock narrowly as it pummeled down the mountain. And as I rose up with dusty clothes and shaking with fear, I realized that I was lucky. I was lucky because I was knowing of the present moment and aware of my surroundings, which allowed me to adapt, and I was given the opportunity to escape as that rock came barreling toward me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that story was my first introduction to living in the moment, which I see as a focused attention on the present or the now, and other names for this concept can include mindfulness and present moment awareness. And before I move on, I just want to mention that I personally am not an expert on living in the moment, nor am I very proficient at it. I'm a high school junior. Need I say more about my stress levels? However, it is something that I care about dearly and something that I try to achieve every day, and that allows me to escape the stresses that occur in my life, and it also allows me to appreciate it to the fullest. Yes, there are scholars such as Deepak Chopra, Jon Kabat-Zinn, and Eckhart Tolle who have all spent their lives researching and practicing living in the moment. However, their years of expertise should not cause any one person to be discouraged from practicing living in the moment, and that each person is capable of being mindful themselves in their own unique way, and even if it is only for a few minutes a day. For a high school student, it can remain difficult to remain stressless for the 4 years before heading off to college. Pressures of making a varsity team, getting straight A's, and gaining high marks can all create stress in a high school student's life. Now, nothing is better than scoring that game-winning goal or getting the A on that final, but these achievements may come at a price. Not worrying about these future feats may cause us to stress about them, taking us out of the present moment for prolonged amounts of time. For example, this winter, my family and I had a large reunion, and I had the choice of either attending it or studying for my ACT. Of course, everything has to do with standardized tests. And I chose to attend the reunion, figuring that socializing with my family would alleviate my stresses and also create a sanctuary from studying. However, the exact opposite occurred. I was completely stressed out about the ACT the entire time, with questions about reading passages and mathematics that I didn't understand and probably will never understand running through my head. And after my family left, I wondered why. Why the ACT, a simple test, why was it so powerful in taking me out of the moment and not allowing me to enjoy my time with my family? And I realized I wasn't offered this escape because I didn't allow my mind to distance itself from the test. I wasn't being mindful. Another way to say this is that despite my physical body being with my family, my mind was focused on the ACT, a test that I was taking weeks later. Now, the next day I was still concerned about how the ACT was so powerful in taking me out of the moment, and so I did the one thing that a kid my generation does. I consulted with the all-knowing power of Google. And after a few moments, I stumbled onto the research of Jon Kabat-Zinn, who was one of the thinkers that I mentioned at the beginning of this talk. And later that day, I turned on an interview between him and Oprah Winfrey, discussing present moment awareness, also known as mindfulness. Focusing on living in the moment, Kabat-Zinn wanted to relate to his viewers that the best way to be mindful was to be fully aware of their actions all the time. And he gave a very simple set of steps to achieve this. When you're stirring the soup, stir the soup. When you're cutting the carrots, cut the carrots. And for parents, when you're picking up your child from school, pick up your child from school and don't be on the cell phone. Kabat-Zinn teaches mindfulness based upon this specific concept at 8-week seminars, but us high school students and likely most adults do not have time to attend these. However, most importantly, Kabat-Zinn's anecdote gives us an easy roadmap to achieve being mindful, in that if we are focused on the actions that we commence, we can truly become one with the moment and not stress about our futures. In addition, for us high school students, if you're focused on throwing a frisbee, only throw that frisbee. And for most of us, when you're doing your homework, focus on only doing your homework. Now, that leads me to another point. How many of you do your homework in the presence of your cell phone, where you can be easily distracted by social media, alerts, and text messages? I'm supposed to be the mindfulness kid? I do. Perhaps put your phone in another room, perhaps put it on the other side of the room that you're studying in, perhaps just silence it with the flick of a switch. I see technology as one of the largest obstacles to achieve living in the moment, and I personally relate to this, that when I was younger, I used to get so distracted by my cellular device that I had to give my phone to my parents in order for me to work effectively in a timely manner. And currently, I plug my phone into a charging pod on the other side of the room that I study in, and I do this to not only decrease distraction, but according to a study in 2014 by the McComb School of Business at the University of Texas, Austin, it was shown that at times of studying, there was a direct correlation between cell phone use and reduced cognitive capabilities. Now, regardless of my knowledge of this study, I still am sometimes taken out of the moment by my device, thanks to the buzzing of mostly pointless alerts. There was one time when I was doing an assignment and my phone buzzed with that annoying high-pitched ringing that we all know. And so I got up out of my chair, ran across the room, probably almost tripping in the process, pulled the phone out of my charger and looked down. And as I looked back up, I realized I literally got distracted just to see that the New York Yankees' own Giancarlo Stanton struck out for the 5th time in one game. Really? Regardless of my love for all types of sports, this distraction was not only one that was unnecessary, but one that caused a complete separation of the present moment, in that it not only caused my focus to be disrupted, it caused my efficiency while studying to be tarnished. A study by 4 psychologists at Kent State University found in college students who use their cell phones more often that they had increased use of stress and dissatisfaction in their lives as compared to students who use their cell phones less. It is no question that technology, specifically cellular devices and laptops, play an integral part in our lives due to the ability of them to share news, alerts, and communicate with others in places all around the globe. However, it is important to note that these cellular devices do not work in conjunction with living in the moment, and that one cannot be focused and be aware of the world around them while focusing on a screen. In that very same study, it was mentioned that cell phone use correlated negatively with the GPA students of the students measured at Kent State. In simpler terms, as cell phone use went up, GPA went down. This exact correlation shows that if we allow ourselves to be distracted by our devices constantly, it will not only negatively impact our ability to live in the moment, but it will impact our learning, our education, and eventually our future relating to academics. Now, before I move on, despite the benefits of living in the moment, I want to mention that it does not cause the stresses of your future to disappear. The future, though, I want to say belongs in the future, and we'll all get there, whether it's in a week, a day, a month, a year, or an hour. So why do we have the tendency to stress about the future when all we have guaranteed is right now, the present moment? I'll admit this is hard because while writing this very talk, I was in the middle of an AP English paper and I got so stressed about it that I literally had to drop everything. I couldn't write. My mind was flowing with too much information and too much stress that I literally had to take my hands off the keyboard for 30 minutes. And it was only after using moments of mindfulness that I was able to refocus. And coincidentally, as I refocused, the stress of that paper disappeared. What this experience showed me is that despite us humans having the brain capacity to think about the present and the future at nearly the same time, it is critical that we live in the moment to decrease our stress. That is how we become mindful. And yes, this is a difficult concept to master. That's why mindfulness is called a practice. It's obvious that living in the moment has brought me some benefits, such as allowing me to manage my stress and slightly calming me down due to the pressures of junior year. And so I want to take you all through something that I've practiced a bunch this year, and it's something called the mindfulness practice, which I've adopted off the lessons of Jon Kabat-Zinn and various other thinkers. And you only have to do 2 things for it: be present and listen. Don't worry, I know how to do this despite not being an expert at living in the moment. Begin by closing your eyes if you would like to. Bring attention into your body and take a deep breath. As you inhale, feel the oxygen going into your body. As you exhale, feel yourself relaxing more deeply into your seat. Feel your feet touching the floor. Feel your legs. Feel your back. Feel your stomach as you inhale. Feel your lungs filling up with oxygen, and as you exhale, feel your diaphragm lowering. Feel your arms, notice your shoulders. Pay attention to your hands. If they're tight or tense, do the best that you can to loosen them. Notice your neck and your throat. Loosen your face, your facial muscles, and your jaw. Now I want you all to take another deep breath. And as you inhale, I want you to notice any stress that you have had, any outstanding stress or tension that you feel in your body at the moment. And as you exhale, I want you to release it. And when you feel as though you have done this, open your eyes. That's it. And it's that simple. If you were solely focused on practice, if you were solely focused on the sensations in your body and nothing else, you have successfully practiced mindfulness. In the various times that I've done this, I've done it in very stressful situations. And when I've done it, the stress has completely dissipated. Before Kilimanjaro, I didn't understand the concepts of living in the moment or present moment awareness, in addition to what the moment actually was. However, it was that falling rock that I mentioned in the beginning on Kilimanjaro that was the catalyst, the beginning of my journey to truly appreciate the importance of living in the moment. Not only that it allows we humans to calm down and become less stressed, but also that it allows us to be aware of our surroundings and truly know, appreciate, and recognize the world around us. I want to leave you all with a quote from a high school student, well, a couple decades back. Perhaps you know him. Had a movie made about him. His name's Ferris Bueller. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. Thank you very much.